afternoon. Thanks for joining us for our webinar today. Today we'll be talking about succession planning with our program officer, Justine Kogel. For those of you who are not familiar with Akiptan, we're a native CDFI community development financial institution. We're located on the Cheyenne River Lakota Nation in Inuit, South Dakota, but we serve folks nationwide. My name is Dawn LeBeau. I'm a program officer here at Akiptan, and in our roles as program officers, we develop different tools and resources, curriculums around financial literacy for those in Native agriculture. Our mission is to, can you go to that? Thank you. Our mission is to transform Native agriculture and food economies by delivering creative capital, leading paradigm changes, and enhancing producer prosperity across Indian country. So Akiptan is the Lakota word for working together in a cooperative effort, and this is reflective in our lending philosophy. We focus on long-term, patient, innovative capital with our producers. So we have 2 different lending styles, and we have that information available on our website. So while we're like banks here at CDFIs, in the sense that we provide lending or loans, folks cannot deposit money to our institutions. And we're a little different than banks because we provide a lot of technical assistance with our lending products. And this comes in the form of business and goal planning, succession planning, financial literacy training, and creating all of the tools that we have available on our website. So while there's laws that we have to follow, we're unregulated, and this is what allows us to be flexible and innovative with all of our lending products and programming. So we definitely work with our producers to find solutions to any of their challenges, and we look at our producers or our clients as partners. So we also take that partnership approach. These are our statistics. Since inception in 2019, we have reached 28 tribal nations. And as of this year, we have committed $27 million in loan capital and have dispersed 399 loans. Okay. So we offer a variety of different loan products, and I'll go through them here on this slide, as well as services to increase the agriculture economy in Indian country. Our financial and technical assistance products are always evolving to meet the needs of our producers. So we have a youth loan, a general loan, an operating loan and line of credit, a land mortgage and down payment assistance product. And then, as I named before, we do all of these technical assistance things around business and goal planning, succession planning, marketing assistance, and financial literacy training. As for eligibility for Akiptan's products, you must be involved in the native agriculture field. So this is anything on the food chain from initial production to retail. And a few of those eligible activities include, but are not limited to, farming, ranching, fishing, timber, and retail. And I'll go ahead and introduce Justine, who I said is one of our program officers. And I'm just going to read her bio here. So Justine has spent many years working with the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation in agriculture, at community developments, and at the Farm Service Agency. Her husband and children are enrolled members of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe. Justine holds a master's degree in economics from South Dakota State University and has career experience in finance, program management, nonprofit leadership, and agriculture business, both personal and professional. 10 years ago, the Kogels moved their family ranching operation from the Cheyenne River area to Pryor Mountain Range on the Crow Reservation in Montana, where they continue to manage their cattle and horse herd and promote their packaged beef business. Justine and her family have firsthand knowledge of the challenges that Native producers face, and they're determined to be a part of the solutions. Justine has a passion to help Native American producers obtain working capital, understand the business aspects of agriculture, and to help promote the future generations of Native agriculturists for years to come. And so with that, I'll pass it to Justine, who will go over the succession planning details today. Thanks, Justine.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Don, Whitney asked if we have them all muted.
We can unmute everybody if that works. Let me fix that on the back end here.
I want to thank you guys all again for joining us today. I really absolutely hate listening to things like Don just read about me, because that's not my jam. But like Don did say, I am a producer. We have been in agriculture for a very long time at this point. So along with what I get to do for Akiptan as a program officer, we do run our own cattle herd, and we do some packaged beef business. My husband would be fourth generation, my kids fifth, and so when we're talking about what we're going to talk about today, when succession planning, transition planning, and really looking to the future for you guys and all of us as a whole in agriculture, I think it's really essential, that we do some storytelling, we do some sharing of different experiences and things like that, because succession planning is hard. It's tough to talk about sometimes. It's hard to sit down and have those conversations, and we're going to talk about the importance of why we need to do that today. We're going to talk about how to get started, different resources that we have developed, as well as other resources that are available. It is something that is essential. So we have developed a guide, basically. It's called the Native Agricultural Producer Succession Guide. And this is going to be, well, it is already out on our website, and we will have hard copies available in the upcoming weeks. So if this guide is something that you guys would like and would like a physical copy, please let Don or I know. You can drop your information in the chat. You can shoot us an email. We'll have all of that information throughout the program here. So what is a succession plan? A succession plan is the process of preparing your business for the future. When you are ready to retire, this plan can help make the transition flow easily for the entire operation. Succession planning is critical to your operation, and without it, the passing on of your hard work can be left to the BIA, the tribal courts, state, or any federal courts to distribute. Having a solid succession plan in place ensures that all of your hard work is transitioned to the next in line successfully. That is a huge undertaking, it feels like. It feels like it's this big elephant in the room when we're starting the thought process of how does this look? How do we ensure that our operation stays viable while transitioning to the next generation, or transitioning to another family member or friend or whoever's going to take on our business operations. The hope is that through this webinar today and through this succession guide, you guys have tools in your hands that will be ready to go when you guys get to the process of succession planning. If we don't do this, we share that concern of passing on a business and leaving the next generation, essentially underwater, where their debts are more than their assets, or they're having to pay a bunch of different taxes and things like that. So this planning is really, really critical. And we're going to explain a little bit more of that as we go through today. I do want to encourage you guys, if you guys are QR code folks, you can take your phone and scan that QR code with your camera, and it'll pop up to the actual guide. So if you guys want to follow along, you sure can. If not, I totally get that, because there's a lot of dynamics going on in a webinar. But we are going to go through a lot of the succession guide today. We'll verbally talk about it. I want you guys to know that this is an open forum. We encourage questions. I encourage, we'll ask throughout the day different questions. We want to hear your feedback. We want to know what your experiences have been, because one of the things that we feel is really important is having that peer-to-peer contact and understanding that we have different experiences throughout everybody who's on this call. So when we ask for feedback, I'm literally asking you guys to jump on and give some feedback and let us know your thoughts. So disclaimer, Akiptan has designed this guide based on the information that we have compiled from materials and in the, I feel like I'm giving one of those like, when you're watching those commercials, but and those in the succession planning field. These materials were not created to provide professional, legal, or financial advice. We cannot take responsibility for individual choices. We strongly urge you to work with qualified professionals to support your operations. If you are not already, we encourage you to work closely with a succession attorney, succession CPA, and to develop good working relationships with those who are a part of your succession planning process. So there's our disclaimer. Now, these are the steps that we're going to go through and we're going to talk about today. The first section is just going to be why you need to make this plan. Why is this important to your operation? Why is it important to the next generation? Section 2 is going to be the actual steps to take to start a succession plan and get something in place. Then we've got a list of resources and definitions. So this is all going to be in that guide. So like I said, if you want a physical in your hands guide, we are going to have those in the upcoming weeks. Let us know. We can get those mailed out to you. If you're more of an online person, we'll pull up that QR code at the end again so you guys can have that, or just visit our website. So why do I need to make a succession plan? What's the purpose? The purpose is that this is what you are going to need to do for your next generation operation to stay viable. These are the steps you will take and where you're going to go with this to make your business continue for the future. And you'll do this because otherwise you're going to end up, or not you necessarily, but your next in line are going to end up having to deal with the court systems. They're going to have to deal with lawyers. They're going to have to deal with all of the things to try and figure out what to do with your business. And doing a succession plan can change all of that. So it simplifies the process in the end and makes it a lot smoother for all involved. So we have our first polling question. Have you started succession planning for your operation? Yes or no? Or what's a succession plan even? You can drop that in the chat box if you're not even sure what the succession plan is. So if you guys can go ahead and pick an answer on that first one here. Have you started succession planning for your operation? Yes or no? And if you don't want to use the poll, you can drop it in the chat box too. But this gives us an idea of where you guys are at and what we can do to best help you.
And I'll watch the poll for you here, Justine. A lot of people are answering in the poll,
Perfect.
but you might be able to see it too. But so far, all of the questions popped up. I just want you to know that, and we can read them throughout the presentation. Okay. But number one, we'll start there. So far, one person has started their succession planning for their operation, and two have not.
And that's that's pretty spot on, I think. Succession planning is not something that we put in our day-to-day lives typically. Especially within agriculture, right now is springtime. Our livestock producers are having offspring. Our farmers are getting crops planted, getting ready for irrigation, getting their mechanics ready, and all of the things. And through each season that we have in a year, we have stuff going on and we're super, super busy. So succession planning isn't something that takes the forefront in so many of our operations. And my operation is just the same, to be honest. We have done a succession plan. It's all changed due to life circumstances, and we could definitely use revisiting. And so that's why I just feel that this is incredibly important. So I'm glad to hear that, we have one that's got some experience, and we've got a few that, haven't looked at the succession plan at all, and that's what we're here for to do today. So the next slide here are things to think about. And I think that this is incredibly important. As we move through everything you're going to hear from us today, the biggest thing is the biggest takeaway for all of you. If you don't have a plan, the state or tribe is going to make decisions for you. If you do not have a plan in place, an estate plan, a succession plan, a transition, and you don't have these things filed, the state or tribe will be the ones to make the decision on your behalf for your entire business operation. The circle of life happens to us all. And at those point in times, are we going to be prepared? Are we going to be prepared for those unexpected situations, for emergencies? Is our family, are the people who are coming in behind us, are they prepared? So it's important to have a plan for your business when you are ready to retire, or if something were to happen and you suddenly pass away. This plan can help you and your family and team to make a transition flow easily for the entire operation. A succession plan will help to make arrangements for your business and family when the time comes. Other things to think about that are, essential to what we need to be doing right now. The succession plan will help your family and business partners know what your wishes are and what your plan was to move forward. It ensures your assets are protected and do not get split up. It ensures your wishes for stewardship of the land, property, and business are sustainable for the next generation. And when succession planning is overlooked, uncertainty rises and can disable the future of your operation. You need the plan in place for a successful transition in your operation. I don't know if anybody here has, Dawn, do you have a question?
No, I was just gonna add on to it when you get
Yeah.
when you get done with your part.
So one of the things that I have learned about over the years and that I have shared with other people is the idea behind who gets grandma's pie plate. There is, through extension, there is a program or a step-by-step type of transition planning tool called Who Gets Grandma's Yellow Pie Plate. It was designed by the University of Minnesota. Don, do you have availability to put that in the chat?
Yep,
Oh, there she goes.
I
She's
just
got
put it
it.
in there.
I don't
Yep.
even need to ask. Thanks, Don. And this is basically a tool for you guys to save for later. It's a really good resource that helps to decide if you have multiple multiple children. Sorry, offspring. Terrible. I'm used to talking about livestock. If you have multiple children or multiple siblings that are all involved in your operation, it's really important to know how the assets that you have get split. Because if you don't make a plan, a lot of times those will get split equally, and that means that there's a good chance that your lands, your livestock, your assets will be split equally. And that tears apart the ranching operation or the agricultural operation. And so the Who Gets Grandma's Yellow Pie Plate is a resource for you guys to sit down and walk through with your families to figure out the steps, to figure out who does want what. And we're going to talk about the importance of these conversations in just a minute. Go ahead, Dawn.
I was just gonna add a couple of things. One, we wouldn't be in the places that we are without the planners from the past. Our ancestors were continuously caring for the land, saving seeds, and getting us to where we are now. So I just wanted to name that point, which we all know. And then Akiptan also has 2 webinar recordings from last year from folks out of Iowa State University, I believe. And one of them is legal pitfalls to avoid while estate planning, and then succession planning, common mistakes to avoid. And I'll put those links in the chat and the follow-up email so you guys can watch those as well. They go through a lot of examples or case studies in both of those. And I just wanted to name that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Dawn. So there's like, Dawn and I have been working together for a year, a little over a year now, and it's amazing the tools that the organization has created and our programs team has created. So super excited about all of that. So definitely follow up on all of those webinars, because if you're going to set forward and get a succession plan put in place, you need all of the information that you can possibly get, which seems like a big task. So poll question. What are you most interested in for succession planning? Is it planning for retirement? What does insurance look like? Wills? Or what is estate planning exactly? What do we need to do? What are you most interested in for this type of planning? So if you guys can vote on that or drop your comments in the chat box, that would be great.
A lot of people have already voted for this one.
We're on it.
Yeah, well, all of the questions popped up in the first thing because I didn't separate them, so sorry about that.
All right.
But 2 people would like more information about retirement, and then the remainder of them are interested in planning.
Yeah, that's a lot of us. And honestly, under estate planning and succession planning, all of these things are core elements that we look at. And as we walk through this, you'll see that. So that is excellent. So section 1 was the why. You need to do this because if you don't have a plan in place, somebody else is going to make decisions for you. And I don't know about you guys, but I like to make my own decisions. I like to do what I can to help my kids with their future. And I don't want somebody else who has no idea what our operation is to make those decisions for us. So that's the why. So the steps then for actually creating a succession plan. The first step, and we're going to walk through these, but just to give you guys kind of what we're going to do. The first step is your family business team conversations. Second step is professional conversations. Then you need to file and notify, because without filing this and putting the actual documents in place, it's just an outstanding document that, may or may not stand up in the world of the court system when we come to that point in time. So we're going to talk about that. The step 4 is review, because we need to review these on every couple of years, right? Because life changes. Our operation has changed greatly in 10 years. And so we need to make sure that they're up to date. And then we also need to gather all of our documents. And I say this, and if you looked around at my office, you would be like, well, obviously Justine gathers her documents. They're in stacks of papers all over the place. But I know where they are, and my husband knows where they are. And it's very important to have our documents in a place where they can be easily located. So let's dive in. When we talk about the family conversations, when we talk about having team conversations and what does that look like? The first thing I want to tell you is absolutely do not assume anything of anyone in your team. And when I talk about your team, I'm meaning, is it your brother and sister that you're operating with? Is it your dad? Is it your grandpa? Is it your auntie and uncle? Is it your kids that are coming up? Have to think about who is all a part of this team. And I say, do not assume anything of anyone, because I think it is so incredibly important to note that sometimes what you assume of somebody and what they're thinking is incorrect. And an example of that probably 15 years ago, we went through the full succession plan with my family. We were back in Timber Lake, South Dakota on the Cheyenne River Reservation, and we went over and we sat down with lawyers and accountants and all the things. And my husband is one of four siblings. And so he's the main one that had the interest in the agricultural portion of the operation. And we were like, well, for sure, everybody was still living in the same town. For sure, we thought brother was going to want, to be a part of things. We thought maybe one of the sisters was going to want to be a part of things. And so we're like, oh, definitely, they're going to want to. And we don't even need to worry about talking to them because we know what they want. So we sat down at the dinner table, and these are not easy conversations. We're going to talk through that. We sat down at the dinner table. My father-in-law said, okay, we need to sit down. This is what we're working through, and it's going to be exactly what you guys get in this succession guide. Here are the questions, and we need to know what your answers are. So from each person, each other member of our team, we had to sit down and really understand what they wanted out of the succession line. What did they want out of the estate planning process for our operation? Communication is absolutely key. Through that sit down at the dinner table that day, we discovered that indeed all of the siblings were like, we love the ranch, but the lands should go to the one who's working it. But where does that leave us? And so we had to have those hard conversations, and we did, and they were incredibly hard. And it's sometimes hard to sit down, and like me, I was the in-law. And so but I was also brought to the table because I'm married into the family. I have been working on the operation. And so we have to make sure that we know what everybody's wishes are. It doesn't mean they're all going to get their wishes. We're not a genie in a bottle, but we need to be able to come to a conclusion together as a team to make sure that our succession plan is successful. So someone involved might have an interest to take on a bigger role or even leave the operation, and you don't know unless you ask. And like I said, these are not easy conversations. I want to recognize that, and you guys are going to hear me say that time and time again throughout this, because it is important to know that when you communicate with your family members, that everybody's got big hearts and big feelings in the room, and these are big discussions to have. So these conversations can be held as a family or separate, but it's important that everyone involved understands your exact expectations and wishes. Sometimes it's wise to ask a moderator to help assist in these conversations. If you have a little bit of a dicey situation, it's okay to ask for some help from somebody. And we can talk about that and who can moderate and things like that, if that's something you guys need to dive into. So, questions to think about. Who gets what when you pass? So what exactly does that mean? If you are to pass away, who do you want your assets to go to? Who gets grandma's yellow pie plate? Who gets the cows? Who gets the operation? Who takes the life insurance? Do we divide out? Do all the siblings want a parcel of land and to start their own? What are the wishes? And what do you, as the person doing the plan, the person who is the business operator, what do you want? What do you want to see? Who do you want to continue your business? What happens if no one wants to continue the business? Then what happens? Does it just dissipate and nobody gets anything? Do we have a plan in place so that way we could sell the business and move forward? What do you want to leave for the next generation? And how can you leave them with a positive state of business affairs? If I was to pass away right now, my husband would do great on all of the things that are actual physical ranching and agricultural operations. However, that being said, on the financial side, he would be lost. And I don't say that in like a funny haha, but he truly would, because I handle all of those things. So I need to have a plan in place. I need to have things written down. I need to, be able to say, here's what needs to be done. And he needs to do that for the operation as well. How do we make sure that the business continues? Do you have life insurance? If you have multiple parties involved in your succession plan, multiple children, multiple siblings, anything like that, life insurance is one of those ways that you can utilize assets so that if the one person or two people take on your agricultural operation, and then you have Sam, who is living in town, urban, doesn't want to do the ranching operation, what do they get? Sometimes it's the life insurance part of things. And do you have a retirement account? Because this is not all about like if we lose our life. This is about when we retire. I don't necessarily want to be out there pulling calves when I'm 72. I would much prefer to be retired and watching my children do it. So how does that look? How does it look when I retire? Where is my financial means coming from? Is it going to be pulled out of the ranch? Do I have a separate retirement account? So these are all things that we need to talk about and think about as we move through the succession planning process. So, go ahead, Don.
When you get to this one, I'm gonna relaunch the poll, which means folks who just joins will get a chance to answer previous questions that we've asked for this one too. So I'm gonna do that.
Excellent. Yeah, we can look at it all. I love that. So Dawn's putting the poll back up. So here's a poll question that I want you guys to answer. And if you don't want to answer it in the poll pop-up, go ahead and answer it in the chat. But what holds you back from prepping for succession planning? So open-ended question. If you guys want to pop on and talk about what's holding you back, pop up and say it. I'll tell you, the one thing that held us back for the first probably 4 years that I was with the Kogel family, it was literally the time. It's a bit of a time commitment to do, and it's scary. It is hard to sit down and have the conversations. Those were the two things that held us back. So what is holding you back right now from prepping for this?
And we did get two previous replies from
Yeah.
the first time, and I'll just go ahead and read them. One is replying that they were newly married and they moved, so they were just getting into looking at a succession plan. And the other one is that they didn't know where to begin. And I think we have a couple more answers. So let me end this poll, but folks are welcome to put things in the chat, and then I can read a few more answers that came in.
I think, anytime we have a big life step like a move, or we're changing operations, or we're doing this, or somebody leaves the operation or joins the operation, it's a prime time to look at the succession plan. And once you have it in place, it's not near as overwhelming to go back and review and adapt it.
All right. A couple more people chimed in. One of them says that handling everyone's emotions and talking openly with each other has held them back from it. Another one is needs to know the process. So this is going to be helpful for them. And then the other is it's overthinking and overwhelming.
All of those things, you guys are spot on in the world of succession planning on what holds people back. I want to touch on the emotion comment. That is something that everyone will have to deal with and handle. And I wish that I had a magic wand or that genie in a bottle to make that part of this simpler. But I really don't. And what I do want to recommend, though, is when you go into these conversations, we found over the years, because we've done it a few different times, just as our the generations have changed and as our operation has changed. I think one of the biggest tools that I can tell you is go in with a very open mind and an open heart. I think that everybody, especially when we come to our agricultural families, we all have something that holds us into agriculture. And it might not be, I look at my little brother, and my little brother is slightly involved in ag now, but he's really not. But he still has ties, right? He still has ties to agriculture and what drives him, even though he has a second, or well, his primary position is not on a ranch. but he has feelings about the ranch. And so I think one of the biggest things is just being open to listening and listening to hear instead of listening to solve somebody's problem. I think, accepting their feelings and acknowledging, yes, that, okay, this is where you're at and this is where we're at. How do we come together is a really big thing for that emotion part when we talk about succession planning. And where to start. I'm so glad that we were able to create this resource because it is the jumping off point. So again, really encourage you guys to download it from our website as well as grab one if you ever get to the office or have us mail one out, because that's going to be a great starting point for you. Okay, so step one, you guys, we're going to dive into this, and I am not going to go through each and every question that is in the document, but I'm going to give you the basis of what these steps are about. If you guys have questions about the questions or about the process, please feel free to speak up or drop them in the chat. If you guys have other things that might be helpful to agricultural producers when going through succession planning, please feel free to share those. So for step one, we've got the family and business team conversations. And this basically boils down to sitting down around a table and figuring out your next steps. So who will make decisions for me in the event that I am unable to make those decisions myself? We're talking here about, do you have a will? Do you have an executor? Do you have a power of attorney? Do you have a person that's going to be your health directive, your medical directive, in the event that you cannot make these decisions? So this is all about who makes your decisions if you can't. Who and what do I need to talk about in order to design my succession plan? This is where we talk about who is your team. Who do you want in your business and in your life? Create a list of family, friends, professionals, and topic areas that you feel need to be discussed. So the next thing with that is going to be, what are my goals? What are my goals for today with my business? What are my goals for 5 years? What are my 10-year, 20-year goals? What does my retirement goals look like? So with this part of it, you're going to literally look at, when do I want to retire? Do I want to retire? Maybe I don't want to retire and I want to be here on the ranch and I want to be working and operating it until the day I'm gone. And if that's the case, let people know. It's important to share and communicate those feelings. What partners or family have an interest in the actual business itself and what members don't. And this is where we go back to, do not assume anything of anyone, because it might surprise you at what members are like, well, yeah, we're out here and helping, but actually I don't want to run the business. Or maybe you might have somebody that's like, actually, I'd love to come back and help. And so having those direct conversations and getting direct answers, even though it's hard and emotional, are essential to succession planning. And how would you like to have land, both trust and fee land, your finances, equipment, products, and this is all your assets transferred to the next generation? And that can be either at your retirement or when you're getting ready to retire. How does that look like? And what can we do to assist in this happening in a smooth transition? So I keep clicking and it doesn't keep going. So the next part of this, then, you guys, step 2, professional conversations that need to be held. This is where it gets kind of deep. So we have that step 1. This is where you're sitting down at the table with the family. What does everybody want? What do we want this to look like? What are our goals? How are we going to do it? Step 2, we need professionals in our life to make this happen. Because again, Dawn and I, Akiptan, we are not the professionals in the legal world or your CPAs. So we recommend that you do talk to professionals during this transition and a succession planning time. So your lawyer and legal planning is going to be really essential, because when it comes to trust land, fee land, when it comes to assets, when it comes to your LLCs, if you have an LLC, or partnerships, legal planning is going to be very important to your succession. So what happens during that legal planning? You're going to have to find a lawyer that you know or that you know somebody who knows that you trust who has experience, I would recommend in agriculture, in native country, as well as in the actual succession planning process. Um, and there are a lot of them out there. But the first step is to find one, interview them. And I say interview them because you want to get to know that person. You want to get to know what their firm can do, and you want to build a trust and a relationship with these professionals. So find a couple of them, make some phone calls. You are going to ask them different questions. You can ask them about living trusts. What does that look like? What is an irrevocable trust? What do my taxes look like if we do X, Y, and Z? How is it appropriate to make sure that we get assets transferred without having a huge tax crunch? And so these are things that, like I said, Dawn and I do not have the professional advice to give you in this, but we are giving you the basis of the questions that need to be asked. So schedule an appointment, talk to them, find out when they can meet with you, find out what their experience level is. Ask them if they have a workbook that they utilize for these type of things. And sometimes they're going to make you go back to the table and visit with your family again. And sometimes then it gets even more emotional. And that's all okay, because this is a hard process. It is a hard situation to go through, but we need to do it to make sure our future and our business and our next generations are secure. So lawyer legal steps, very important. Ask around. You will find within your own networks, there are people who already know. They're like, oh yeah, no, we've used this lawyer for this, this, and this. They're very up to date on, everything that's going on in the Crow reservation and how the lands are being transferred. And, just go talk to them. Call, make that appointment. Show up for the appointment prepared with some questions and what your actual operation looks like, so they know where you're headed. So the next professional that we want you to talk to is an accountant, a CPA, a tax professional, because when we're talking succession planning and estate planning, we can get hit with some hard taxes, just depending on how the transitions take place. And these are the folks that can help us through that and help alleviate some of those additional taxation things that go on. So again, if you have a CPA right now, great. Call them up and say, hey, you know what? It's after April 15th. We've already filed our taxes. We need to make a next step. We need to start this succession planning process because we want to make sure that our business and our next generations are protected. Some of the things that you're going to talk to your tax accountant about, or they're going to talk to you about, is income tax, estate tax, inheritance tax. There's all these different taxes that we do have to keep in mind as we make these plans. A lot of times your lawyer and your CPA will be working together to help you guys through these planning processes. Ask about Social Security income if that's something that is on your register. If you have Social Security coming in, what is that going to look like? They can help you figure that out. So that way, when you get ready to retire, you know what you're still going to be coming in. Like, you know what your retirement's going to look like. Do we need to start saving more now? Are we, we might have, and I don't know who's all on the call, but if you're 25, you can start a retirement account. If you're 18, you can start a retirement account. If you're 62, you can start a retirement account and keep going and building that. So it's really important to work together with your CPA to figure out the best route on all of those things. So when you go into that meeting with your CPA, they're going to want you to identify all your income streams. So like for us personally, it would be my job. It would be William's outside income from the few carpentry jobs he does. It would be our cattle. It would be our beef sales. It would be our horse sales. So when you start adding up all of these, you're like, oh, I actually have to bring some more paperwork. And they're going to want to see what you're actually bringing in to know what your business is. And I always say schedule a next call. If I don't put something on my calendar, it's probably not going to get done. So when you leave these offices, schedule the follow-up call and say, okay, we're going to get our stuff done by in a month, and let's have a follow-up call so we have some accountability. Life insurance and insurance providers. Life insurance, there is a vast array of life insurance out there. It is something that we put in succession planning because it needs to be a part of the steps. Life insurance can protect us. It can protect our business. It can protect our children. And so it's very important to explore what life insurance can provide for you. It's very important to know that like there's term, there's whole life, there's term with repayment, there's tons of different options for life insurance. And we encourage you guys to meet with a professional on that and see what's going to work, what's affordable, what can be in the operations budget. And then, set up the next plans. What are my next plans for getting a life insurance policy to protect my kids, to plan for my future, to make sure that John has the ranching operations, but Carol is still happy because she's getting some financial support as well. And the last one is a financial advisor or a retirement provider. These are the people that you set up your retirement from. We talk about IRAs a lot within agriculture because that's one of the things that we have available as a retirement tool. Things to ask about. What's your experience working in Indian country? What would be my most tax beneficial way to save right now? How aggressive should I be at this point? If you're 20 years old starting out, it's going to be a different level of aggression when you're going in and trying to make money off of a retirement account than when you're 55. And these are the folks that can really sit down and hammer through that stuff for you. Step 3. This is a big one, you guys. File and notify people of your plan. You can make a plan all day long. And if there's nothing to hold it accountable, then it's really null and void. So who needs to know your plan? You are going to want to have your plan notarized. You are going to want to talk to your tribe. You're going to want to talk to BIA. You're going to want to talk to your county. And you're going to want them to explain to you where you need to file these papers. Now, if you're working with a professional, legal, tax, they're going to have all of that information. So you're going to file this copy of your succession plan. And then you're going to be like, okay, we did this. But now we have to go back to that family table, that team table, and say, hey, this is what my plan is. This is what I listened, I heard, I accepted, I rejected some of the advice, and here's where we ended. And this is what my plan is. I want them to all know, so it comes from me. So that way, when somebody opens up my succession plan, if I were to pass away, they're not like, she do that. I'm going to dig her up. Nobody wants that. You want everybody to be on the same page. And again, this is, I love that, that statement about emotions, because it is an emotional time making a succession plan. But just recognizing that, you're trying to be fair and equal, which in one person's eyes might be great, and in another person's eyes, it might not be so great. But talking through those things and working through those to make sure your plan is successful is the biggest key. And then place a copy of your plan in a safe place. Maybe it's a safe that you have at your house. Maybe it's a lockbox at the bank, but make sure that the people surrounding you, your team, know where to find the plan. Because if they don't know where to find the plan and they're not sure what lawyers you talked to 10, 15 years ago, they can't find it. So make sure that the people in line, your partners, family members, and heirs, know where to find that plan. And that's why we talk about the next step. Review your plan. Life changes consistently, and so will your plan. Review and discuss these documents with the people involved. The key to success is to not have any surprises. We recommend that you go through this plan every 3 years, or if you have a large life event that happens. Say you purchased I'll take us from 10 years ago. We took the family ranch and then we financed it and we bought another property where we moved our core family to. That's a big deal. That changes the entire look of the operation. So we needed to revisit our plan. If there is a divorce or a marriage, these things change the plans. So make sure that we're reviewing those plans. And step 5, you guys, gather important documents. If you do not have these in place, now is the time to do it. It is also a good time to review and get things up to date. I say this as I look outside and it's snowing. So for me, I'm like, yes, this is a great time. The calves are fed, everybody's happy, and I could actually sit down and do this. However, we all have these documents. They're, for a lot of us, sometimes they're rolling around in a pickup. For some of us, they are in a filing cabinet, concisely put. For others of us, they're stacked in piles. um, Pick a spot or take a 3-ring binder and put things in place. Here is your checklist of things that you need for documentation. I'm not going to read through this. This is all stuff that, you know what, if you go into Akiptan or a bank or anywhere to get a loan, a lot of this stuff is stuff they're going to want to see anyway. But it also includes your estate information, any funeral arrangements that you have, your will and testament. The big one for my family is passwords for your computer programs. I joke around because I have a computer that has a finger pad. I joke around. I told William, if anything shall happen to me, you should probably take this finger right here because I'm not going to need it anymore. And that way you can get into my computer because I don't remember my password. So things like that are really important to have so people can get to them easily. So I know we ran through that succession plan. Succession planning is a lot more than an hour, guys. But what we wanted to do is give you the basic tools and the steps and make sure you know that we've got this awesome guide that is in print as we speak. And we want to get it out to you guys. So if you are interested in this, again, get a hold of us. Because this guide will walk you through the steps to getting your succession plan done. So here's the awesome scan code. If you don't know how to do the QR codes, take your phone, put your camera on it, put it around that little white and black box there, and it'll pop up and you can just click on it. If you don't like those, which that's me, I'm still learning, you can go ahead and go to our website, or like I said, just get a hold of Don or I, and as soon as we get them physically in hand, we will get you one in the mail. We also have listed in here a set of resources. This is all within the book, so I'm not going to read through all of these. They are in the book. You can go to those clickable links, and these are all resources that can help with succession planning for you guys. Last poll question. Do you feel more confident in knowing more about succession planning after this webinar? Yes or no? And I'm not saying, do you know exactly what you're going to do, but do you feel like you might be able to get through it? And again, if you don't like the polls, go ahead and answer just in the chat box. That's fine too.
Got a couple of replies. 3 people do feel more confident about knowing more about it.
Good. And, you know, I really encourage you guys to get online until we get those books in hand. Jump on, use that QR code, or just jump on our website and go through the book. Read through the full book, and it's got the key questions. It's got everything that you're going to need to get started, because we do know, like, this is a lot to look at.
And if you're having any, sorry, I just wanted to say one last thing. If you're having any trouble downloading that PDF, you're more than welcome to email Justine or I, and we'll just email it directly to you so you can have it right in your email.
And then for those of you guys that are Akiptan clients already that have loans with us, coming soon, we are going to have the Uwiyeya grant, which is the Lakota word for to prepare something. And this is going to be a grant that's going to be dedicated to assisting you guys in your transition and succession planning efforts. So keep up to date with us on that. It'll be coming out shortly. We're finalizing a few last things with that. Dawn, do you want to go through the scholarship?
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening in to the succession planning webinar. We hope that all of the things that we mentioned today were useful and helpful, but I have a couple of things that I think are important as well as far as programming goes. So we're in our third year of our Okichanye scholarship. Okichanye is the Lakota word for cultivation. We're committed to supporting the next generation of Native Ag stewards, which is our youth, right? So we have this scholarship for Native American high school seniors who are pursuing a degree that will support the native agriculture industry. This year, the award amount is $2,000. We'll be awarding 15 students. It opened in January. It's closing in about 15 days at the end of the month here at 4 p.m. To be eligible, they simply need to be a Native American high school senior graduating this spring and attending college, vo-tech school, vet tech schools this fall in 2024. So that degree can be anything from a business degree, a marketing degree. It doesn't have to have ag business, the ag business label, right? As long as they can explain how they're going to use that degree in the native ag industry, they can explain that in their essay. But on the screen here is a list of folks that have applied, and these are the degrees that they were pursuing. And you can see more of this on our website. But as far as applying, there's a link on our website under the Okichanye Scholarship where they can apply either online, they can email me directly, or they can mail in a written copy if they prefer to do that. As long as we get it on April 30th online, but if they don't mail it out until April 30th, as long as it's postmarked on that date. So the eligibility is here. They simply need to demonstrate that they have a commitment to the Native Ag community. So that's the scholarship program that's closing here in a couple of weeks. We also have our Native Youth Makichinyapi, which is the Lakota word for agriculture, business plan contest. So this contest aims to help our students who are interested in native agriculture. They already have a business plan developed, which some do. This is designed to help them build that even more or to create more business plans in our community. So we're giving 3 prizes this year. This is our first year of this program, but first place is $1,500. Excuse me. Second place is $1,000. Third is $500. Eligibility includes that they must be a Native American citizen in the United States. They must be in the age group of 16 to 18 years old. The business plan must be uplifting the native ag industry. So they could be doing a business plan around gardening, cattle operations, buffalo operations, processing plants, fisheries, value-added things. It's pretty broad. So beekeeping, gardening, anything native agriculture. If they have any questions about their plan and they're unsure, they can just email me, call me, and I'll help them with that. So there's 2 parts to this. They have to submit the written ag plan, and we have a template that they can follow. It's on our website. And then they submit a 1 to 5 minute verbal business plan pitch, like a recording, and they can do that all on the link on our website. And we're offering technical assistance around this. So if they're struggling and they have majority of it done, or they haven't even started it yet and they need support, there's a link on our website where they can also schedule time with me, and I'll walk them through those different pieces and support them with technical assistance as much as we can. So encourage your students to apply for this one. This one also closes April 30th as well. And reach out to me with any questions. I know there's a lot of students that have gone through agriculture programs in the summer in different tribal nations that have all this knowledge in their head. They just need to put it on paper. And I know they have great ideas because I've heard them in our internship program. So that's our business plan contest. Couple more things as we close out here in the next 2 minutes. We have more webinar recordings and webinars coming up. So next month, we'll do some technology and ranching. We'll talk a lot about all of the cool tools that are available, such as Excel, apps. There's just so many things. We're going to talk about all those cool things next month. And then in June, we're going to talk about using social media to market your business. Justine and I will be on that one as well. And then come July, we'll talk about diversifying your products. And maybe you want to sell frozen beef in your community, or you want to do some value-added products, or even things beyond that. So we would be happy to have you all join us there. You can register on our website or scan that QR code. But we send out emails to everybody. It's on our social media. So those are the upcoming webinars. And the last thing that we would like to mention, this isn't the last thing actually, but we are hiring for a summer youth intern. They'll learn everything that we do here at Akiptan and also learn about financial literacy with other students from across the country. Applications for that are due on May 15th. You can scan that QR code. And we also have a lot of free financial planning information on our website. So please check that out or share it with your network or folks that are in need of it, or have them reach out to us. And now here we go to the last thing. Sign up for our newsletter. This is where we send out all of these cool programs that we talk about. We also share a lot of our partners and networks information as well, especially if it's in native agriculture. So I just want to thank everybody for their time and for joining us today, and pass it back to Justine if you have any closeout comments to make.
No, I just want to echo Don there, quick like. Thank you guys. Succession planning isn't the most invigorating topic to talk about. It's oftentimes a hard topic to talk about. So we're glad you guys are all here. For those of you who may join us and watch this later, just know that we are available for questions. Our contact information is on the screen below. Reach out at any point and we'll try and help you guys get rolling on a succession plan. So thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.